Hello and welcome to the OTC Dual Credit Orientation. As most of you know, my name is Piper Wilson and I work with a couple of other high school programs as well. You are always welcome to email me or give me a call whenever you have questions or concerns. I'm usually a little bit faster with email. And then again, we also have most of the information on the dual credit website. Today we're going to be talking about these main items. Core 42 is a new piece of legislation which makes transferring credits easier than before. MDAG created a set of core general education courses that are guaranteed to transfer to any other public institution in the state. Keep in mind, OTC's previous articulation agreements with other colleges still stand. Therefore, this is not an exhaustive list of all the courses that will transfer. As a good rule of thumb, we always recommend students contact the institution they wish to transfer credits to and obtain a written statement of how OTC's credits will transfer. If you would like to learn more about Core 42, go to otc.edu and type Core 42 Guarantee. Then you can read more about the Act, the guidelines, the list of courses, and the FAQ. Let's kind of get out of the way some of the confusion that occurs, probably more so with students than instructors. A lot of times students have both options at their high school, and so they don't understand the difference between seated and online because they're both occurring at the same location. The seated option means that we have a high school instructor approved at your school. For that option, the price is $35 a credit hour. Whenever we hear seated and on-site, that means someone who teaches at the high school is also approved to teach OTC curriculum. For the online option, that means that students are taking the class typically at your school during the school day, but their instructor is an OTC instructor and they're completing that course online through Canvas. The tuition rate for online is the same as seated. The difference is that there's a $65 online fee per class. And the last little red lettering here at the bottom is just a huge benefit to students. They get to take a class once, and as you know, they get twice the credit in the sense that they earn the high school credit and the college credit at the same time. Why is dual credit important? It's beneficial to students, the high school partnership, and OTC as well. The high school benefits through MSIP, through the school report card, and we offer remuneration. We'll talk more about that here in another slide. OTC benefits from the partnership for a lot of reasons. One main reason is that students are twice as likely to enroll in college at OTC after they start out with OTC at the high school. Students are 11% more likely to persist beyond their freshman year after high school and work toward their second year in college. Students are twice as likely to earn a degree at OTC or otherwise. Students earn higher GPAs than students that don't participate in dual credit or dual enrollment. And then at OTC, we've done some research and analyzed some data on this. When students participate in dual credit or dual enrollment with OTC, they're 50% likely to come back to OTC and enroll in more classes. As you can see, there's lots of benefits to both parties, both high school and OTC. One thing that we mentioned on the last slide that's a benefit to the high school is the remuneration piece. Students paid $35 a credit hour. We give 25 of that back. You can see that we're not making a profit. This is really all about that marketing piece that we talked about with student retention. That's kind of the only reason that we keep dual credit going here at OTC is the huge benefits to our high schools and to the students, and then knowing that they're going to come back and see us again after high school graduation. The remuneration, we do send 25 back of what the students pay at the $35 credit hour rate, and that's again after the semester's over and instructors have entered final grades into the My OTC portal. We send a roster and a check back to the high school for that amount. The high school then determines how they use those funds. So if you have any questions about how those funds are used, talk to your administration about how those funds are utilized. This is just a quick graph about the partnership options in dual credit. As you can see from this graph, in the middle column, the students pay the least amount to come to OTC. And as far as our school partnership is concerned, we give the most back. It's a huge benefit to go through OTC for both the students and for you all as the instructors. Talked about this a little bit, the $35 credit hour rate for seated. If students do the online option, they do have that additional $65 fee per class. With the seated option, students typically pay $105. Most of the courses that instructors are approved to teach at the high school are 3 credit hours, so typically that's $105. If the student takes the same class online, that's $170 with the $65 online fee. Now when we compare that to OTC tuition after a student graduates high school, you can see that there are some huge differences there. For example, English 101 is our most popular class, especially with the online option. If a student took an English 101 with you at the school, they would pay $105. If a student took an English 101 online, they would pay $170 through dual credit. Say that same student, or actually that student's peer, decides to wait and take the same English 101 after high school graduation, they can pay $475 at our current rates. Family lives within district. They can pay on up to $600 for the same English 101 if they're located at an out of district. So you can see there's a huge cost savings to students to go ahead and do it now, and then they get to start counting those credits toward high school graduation and college graduation. If they wait, they pay more money and they don't get to duplicate those credits in that way. I've had quite a few questions lately about how the in-district and out-of-district tuition accrues. That is not something that OTC decides. It's not based on a radius or geography. That is a local decision that's made whether or not to send additional funds to OTC in order for the population that lives within that area to receive a cheaper tuition rate. Again, nothing determined by OTC, that's a local decision. We work with 70 high schools. The majority of those high schools do prefer the online option for their students. There's a lot of schools that are offering a combination of both. And then homeschool and private school families can also participate in the online option. If you're a school that does one or the other and you want to explore options, feel free to contact me and I'll help you get more information. Just some enrollment trend data to share with you. You can obviously tell students and families and high schools are recognizing how good of a deal this is to participate in dual credit through OTC. OTC as a whole is accredited by the Higher Learning Commission. We also follow policies through the Missouri Department of Higher Education. And what that means for you all that don't necessarily work at a college, it does mean that we have to follow certain policies and guidelines that are set forth by those organizations. Some of those include the instructor requirements and credentials. So OTC is not saying that certain instructors have to meet these criteria. We are following policies that deal with our accreditation and then evaluating instructors based on the criteria that's presented to us. After instructors are approved, the instructor evaluation should occur every year, the first 2 years after approval, and then once every 2 years thereafter. If you want to check in with your evaluation periods, you are more than welcome to contact the department chair. It's either the department chair or the lead instructor that will be coming to your district to evaluate you. If you're ever in doubt about whether or not you qualify for more dual credit classes, or if you have peers at your high school or other high schools that you talk to, just always express the idea that if in doubt, please apply. There's some easy ways to think about this with English 101 and English 102. If you're approved for one, you're approved for the other. That's the same with History 120 and History 130. But the caveat here is that not all courses are evaluated in the same way. Please ask. I'm more than happy to explore options with you. And then just keep in mind that not all courses are evaluated in the same way. General education and technical education are evaluated in very different ways. When we have instructors that aren't approved for Business 115, that doesn't mean that they won't be approved for CIS 101. Again, if in doubt, please apply and we will look for options. The HLC and MDHE policies also come into play with academic integrity. We need to make sure that the educational objectives align, whether students are taking the class at a high school or online or at MSU. The educational objectives for English 101, for example, should be similar across institutions. There's typically a standards assessment with each course. If you have questions about that, feel free to contact the department chair for your approved class. We also have common textbooks and materials. So whether or not a student takes a class with you at the high school online or after they graduate high school, they should all be using the same materials. This also ensures transferability between OTC and institutions like MSU and other public institutions that are approved through HLC. It's a big help to students when they're thinking about transferring their credits. If you have any questions about your course-related materials or textbooks, feel free to contact your department chair for clarification. You are approved dual credit instructor, but you also have the same access to resources as other adjuncts and instructors at OTC. Your My OTC portal is a resource to you all in order to enter grades each semester. You do have your own OTC email. Obviously, you have free access to Canvas as well. And then we have library resources and a whole lot more. And one thing to pay attention to on this page is that if you're approved to be a dual credit instructor, you're likely approved to be an adjunct here at OTC. Whether you teach through dual credit or at OTC, you're evaluated in the same way and you have to meet the same criteria and credentials as other instructors. If you are ever interested in adding a course throughout the school year, perhaps online, or want to explore options to teach seated classes at an OTC campus, you are more than welcome to contact our HR department and get some extra classes through OTC, and those obviously will pay at a different rate than through dual credit. Here is the My OTC portal. When you log into your My OTC, this is kind of how it will look for now. There are resources. This is how you access your email. This is also how you access your student list so that you can enter grades each semester. Your username always stays the same. Your password, for confidentiality reasons, does reset every 120 days. We do have a pass system which allows you to reset your own password. I highly recommend that for our dual credit instructors. You all aren't using our system often, maybe a couple times a year to enter final grades. So I would highly recommend go ahead and setting that up so you can reset your own password when it does expire. This is the same system that students can use too. They can go through the pass system, and that way when they get kicked out or can't remember their password, they can reset their own password as well. Your username for both you and students will stay the same. You can use the pass system to reset your own password, and then a resource for your username and password. If you ever have issues with either of those or your My OTC account, feel free to contact the help desk. Some important dates for fall are listed here. You can see the seated class registration deadline. You need to be aware of some dates here in the middle as far as their refund period. Once billing is posted, I will notify you all to remind your students, and I will also send communications to students and parent email addresses that I have on file to help students remember to go ahead and pay. If students do not pay by the deadline, they will be dropped, so it's important to encourage them to pay and to pay near the date when billing is posted so they don't have to worry about being dropped. Midterm grades are posted on October 20th. That's more for our online courses, so you don't need to worry about midterm grades. As for the last day to drop of the semester, that's the last day that a student can submit a registration form and be dropped from their class without getting the letter grade that they have earned thus far in the class. Rather, they would get a W on their transcript. An important thing to note is that anytime after a student enrolls in the class and classes begin at OTC, anytime they drop after classes begin, they're going to get that W on their transcript. There's no way in our system to completely delete an enrollment. The final grades due date is the date that you, as a seated instructor, need to log into your MyOTC and report grades into our system. I typically send out more information about that closer to the date, but that's an important date for you all to remember, and that needs to be done before you go on summer break. We need that information in order to start the remuneration process, which is sending money back to your school. I know there are times throughout the school year where there are some calendar and time frame discrepancies. If you have issues with the timeline and entering final grades into our portal, please let me know beforehand so we can plan ahead. More information for dual credit instructors is provided in the link listed along the bottom of the page. We do have the roster verification process for fall that should occur right around the deadline day. So on that deadline day, or perhaps the morning just after, depending on how enrollment goes, I will send rosters to you and to the counselors at the school. If you can double check those rosters and communicate back with me that same day or perhaps the day after, that really does help me help you and help me help your students to make sure that they're in the right spot. The longer you wait to check those, the more difficult it becomes to make sure that students get proper billing, and also it becomes more difficult when we try to send you money for remuneration. I know there's a lot of seasoned dual credit instructors out there and are brand new people as well. Some things to think about when you are marketing dual credit in your classes. These are recommendations for enrollment. These are not requirements for enrollment. If you ever have questions or concerns or want OTC to make an exception, please feel free to contact us and we will look for ways to say yes. I get asked most frequently about the admission steps. They are all posted here on this site. A quick way to get to the admission steps is to just go to otc.edu. And when you pull it up, it looks a little like Google in the sense that there's a search box in the middle of the page. In that search box, you can direct students or parents or even yourself to type in dual credit. That will take you to the main page. Or you can type in dual credit checklist, and that will take you to the admission steps. There will be more information on that checklist than what's provided here, but this is just to be used as a guide. There are 5 steps total. The first one is to have students either speak to you or their high school counselor about eligibility and options for dual credit at your school. All students have to apply to be an OTC student. There is a guided self-placement option for students interested in English and math to make sure they're ready for the level of courses that we offer in the dual credit program. The class registration form is the form that students use to communicate with us which courses they want to be enrolled in. There's some contact information at the top. They indicate which classes they want to be enrolled in. The student and the parent signs that form and sends it to the email address provided at the bottom of the form, which is dualcredit@otc.edu. I ask that you scan and email those forms. We've had a lot of issues with the fax. We only have one fax here in this entire building, and as you can probably infer, people will walk off with faxes or whatever the case may be. So please send them through scanning and emailing to make sure that I get them. One thing that happens often is students will say, I applied or I registered, but they're confusing the steps. Step 2 is students apply to be an OTC student. That creates a username and password for them and creates a student file. We use that student file to register students for the classes they request. So if they do one or the other, they're not registered for OTC dual credit. They have to do both, and they're not the same thing. After classes begin, students can access their MyOTC portal and make a payment for the quick pay or the payment plan. Again, you don't have to worry about that until October, and I will send more information to you and to students and parents about that. There are some instructors approved for a year-long course at their school. If that's you, you will begin teaching the OTC curriculum, educational objectives, and using the approved textbook at OTC. You'll do all that in the fall semester. Then in the spring semester, the students will start the admission steps late in the fall. They will pay their tuition and actually earn the credit for that year-long class in the spring semester. So you'll start your part in the fall, and students will do their registration and their payment in the spring. Students have 24 access to any billing through their MyOTC portal. We do not send paper bills to students. Students can use our MyOTC portal to get up-to-date information and sign up for payment plan, and again, they can search by term. Payment reminders are emailed, not mailed, emailed to students and parents. Disenrollment will occur when students do not make a payment by the payment deadline. In case you're curious about online options, through the dual credit program, these are our courses that we offer. If you or your school want to pursue options in online and you're not already doing so, please feel free to contact me and I'll help you get started. One of the programs that I also work with students on is the program called Early Start. Anything not offered either at your school through you as an approved instructor or online through dual credit, if you offer that option, students can do through the Early Start program. Obviously, there's a lot more options to choose from with Early Start. They can take additional online classes through Early Start. They can take classes at any of our campuses or centers. There's a lot more options to choose from. With that luxury of having more choices, students do pay regular OTC tuition rates. Anytime a student approaches you or a family approaches you and want to do something that we don't offer, feel free to refer them to OTC and we will help them take classes through the Early Start program. Students can also take Early Start during the summer when we don't offer dual credit. They can take Early Start in the fall and spring in addition to their dual credit classes. As you can tell by this slide, we have lots of options for high school students. If you have any questions or concerns about any of these options, if you want to explore more, you can go to the website listed below and that will direct you to the proper pages and the proper departments to get more information. That is all I have for you. If you are at the adjunct orientation, feel free to come say hi or ask any questions. Of course, you can always email me or call me or refer to the website. And I'd also like to hear from you if there's something that I missed and you wished was provided for you in this presentation. So just give me a little bit of feedback and I will be happy to answer your questions and concerns, and then that will help me improve these presentations in future years. Thank you. Have a great day.